Right, good morning everyone. Good morning Queensland. And first of all, can I wish all the dads out there a very happy Father's Day, and wish my own father a happy Father's Day, and also to for people who've lost their dads as well. I think it's a special time to reflect on those happy memories. So we hope, however you're spending today, that you're enjoying the day. So anyway, in good news today, we only have one new case, and we're not worried about this case because it just came through recently, which is why we're a little bit late this morning. Is that it's the mother of the 4-year-old girl, so they're already in isolation, so that's fantastic news, and it's very low risk because she was already in that home quarantine. But can I just say to those families that have been asked to go into home quarantine because of this little cluster, we really need you to abide by that home quarantine. We saw how well it worked, especially when we dealt with the Indooroopilly cluster. And I'm asking all of those families that have been told to go into home quarantine, thank you. You are keeping us all safe. So thank you very much, and please keep up the good work. Dr. Young will talk about 2 interstate cases that have been reported in Queensland, but they're both truck drivers. So Dr. Young will talk a little bit about that. And there'll be just some few exposure sites which will be added to the Queensland Health website. So we have 16 active cases now in Queensland, which is great news because that number's coming down. Remember when we were almost up to that 100 when we had a lot of people, so that's great news. And the last 24 hours, over 8,330 tests, which is great. And once again, it's really important, Queensland, if you have any symptoms whatsoever, please go and get tested, because honestly, we've got to find that first case. That's absolutely crucial. 15,818 vaccines by Queensland Health in the last 24 hours. So we now have, of our eligible population, 52.7% have had at least one dose, and 34.14% are fully vaccinated. Now, I've got a really important message today for Queenslanders. Now is our window of opportunity to get vaccinated. We've been hearing extensively about the modelling of 70 and 80%, and the 80% from the reports of National Cabinet is absolutely, we need to aim for 80% and above. We have this window of opportunity, Queensland, to get vaccinated. It is absolutely imperative that you get vaccinated, because this virus is going to pop up sometime in the near future. And this is basically our window to get this done. It is going to protect yourself, protect your family, and protect your community. So I cannot stress enough, it's fantastic news. The Commonwealth has secured those extra Pfizer doses. We're of course opening up more vaccination hubs. So we really need you to either go to your GP, go to your pharmacy, or go to a vaccination hub and get vaccinated. I cannot stress to you, you know, if you're sitting at home and you're thinking, well, I might just wait. Don't wait. Every single person that gets vaccinated is protecting us from having a huge outbreak from what we're seeing down in New South Wales. We know it's going to get worse in New South Wales, and I really feel for people who have family and friends in New South Wales. This is a global pandemic, and it is we are going to eventually see more cases here, and we really need to see everybody get vaccinated. So everybody who's eligible, please go and do that. And of course, with the more supplies coming on, we will definitely make sure. But make an appointment with your GP. If you can't get in to see your GP, ring your chemist. If you can't get in to see your chemist, you can register with our Queensland Health website. We need to get more people on that register and get vaccinated. I cannot stress the urgency to Queenslanders to get vaccinated. Tell your friends, tell your family. If you're a small business owner, if you run cafes, if you run small businesses, if you run restaurants, it is important to get vaccinated, because that's of course how this virus gets spread, by those people who are unvaccinated. And I don't want to see people ending up in hospitals. I want to see people vaccinated and keeping Queenslanders safe. So I think you've got the message today, Queensland. Keep up the good work. Go and get vaccinated. It doesn't take a lot of time at all. And we're seeing more and more sites will be opening up on weekends. So there's basically no excuse. So please go and do that. Okay, the other thing that's really important, as we saw from that nail salon as well, we really need people to use that check-in app. It doesn't matter where you're going, get out your phone, use that check-in app. That is also keeping yourself safe, your community safe, and that means we can get hold of people fast and get them into isolation. So it's absolutely imperative. If you're a business owner, you know, you've got a right to make sure that the person entering your business has checked in and done the right thing. So that is going to help our contact tracers, and we really need that. So look, with those few words, I'll hand over to Dr. Young, and then we're happy to take a few questions. Thanks, Dr. Young.
Right, so we have that one new locally acquired case who is the mother of the 4-year-old. So she tested negative twice before she then had that third test. So she tested negative on the second, negative on the third, and then positive yesterday, and she developed symptoms yesterday. So she's not any additional risk to the community. Now, she may have got it from the truck driver, or she may have got it from her daughter, but either way there's not an increased risk there, which is really good. Now, I would like to thank every single family, and there's over 1,000 who are now in quarantine while we work through what the risk is going forward. So it's really, really important that all of those families do stay in quarantine. If they need any assistance, we've put in place support through community services. If they need assistance with any groceries or any medications or anything at all, we'll provide that to them. Please, you can't leave your home. If you need help, call for that help, because we don't at this stage know the spread through the childcare centre. The reason being, we've got onto this so quickly. We really have. So I'm quite confident that if people remain at home, that there is no risk from the 4-year-old girl who tested positive. I'm still concerned about that salon, the nail salon, thank you, Stylish Nails, because the check-in code was not used. So we're still struggling to find the people who are there. We've got assistance from the centre. We've been looking at CCTV footage to identify people and find people. And I thank every single person who has actually come through the portal now, who was there at that broader marketplace site. We've had 74 people come through the portal who didn't use the check-in. So I'm very worried that there are a lot more people who went and attended last Monday morning, and we need to get hold of you. So we're using the check-in data that we've got, but it's not enough. So that is an ongoing risk. So it's really, really important that anyone who is there on Monday, that they come forward so we can test them and make sure that there isn't ongoing spread in that Logan Bengley community. So it is really important for people who live in that Logan Bengley area to wear your masks. And for everyone else, we are going to see more cases coming into Queensland. So the best protection is to wear masks going forward. So thank you to everyone who's been doing it. They're very uncomfortable, particularly as we're getting our beautiful spring weather here in Queensland, but they're very important. Now, we were notified by New South Wales yesterday of 2 new cases that have been infectious in Queensland during their infectious period. So one is a Qantas pilot who lives in a cattle property out towards Kingaroy, quite an isolated property, and we already have results from his wife and 2 children, and they're all negative, so that's very encouraging. He travelled from his home to Brisbane, where he saw his mother, and we've had her tested. I don't have her result. And then he travelled to the Brisbane airport and flew to Hong Kong, flew back from Hong Kong, arrived into Melbourne where he tested positive. So we're waiting on the whole genome sequence result from Victoria as to whether he acquired that in Queensland, because part-time he works as a freight driver and had been down in Tamworth on the 20th of August. So we're trying to work out whether he acquired it in Tamworth or in New South Wales, or he acquired in Hong Kong, because that'll change the risk profile. But at this stage, I'm pretty comfortable because he did really stay at home during his infectious period, and his wife and children are negative. So we're just working through the risks there. And he was fully vaccinated, as was his wife, which is a very good thing. Then the other person we were notified by is a truck driver who lives in New South Wales, who came up through Queensland, travelled through Archerfield and Cooper's Plains, and then travelled straight back down to New South Wales. So he's bringing a load of cars into Queensland. So he had some exposure time at the Archerfield BP, but otherwise very minimal exposure in Queensland. So I also think he is probably low risk to Queensland. He's now back in New South Wales. So he tested positive there in New South Wales. So New South Wales is telling us about cases that they're aware of, so we can manage them here in Queensland. But it does mean that we are seeing that increased risk. So it's really, really important, please, everyone, any symptoms at all, come forward immediately and get tested. Wear your masks when you can't socially distance, particularly inside. That is really important. And most important of all, get vaccinated. We are getting more and more doses of vaccine into Queensland every day, so it's really important. GPs are now getting increased doses of both AstraZeneca and Pfizer and can make that available, and are making that those doses available to their patients. So go on the Commonwealth Government website and see if your GP has Pfizer, or if you're 60 years of age or older, go and get AstraZeneca. That's really important. That is what will protect people. We know that the people who have had 2 doses of vaccine are very unlikely to get severe illness and end up dying. They still can, which is why we do have to have social distancing and mask wearing while we've got the risk of the virus in our community. But the best way to protect everyone is to get vaccinated. We know that that will manage the risk for the individual, and it will stop the widespread transmission in our communities. Thank you.
Premier, we're seeing today 50 families, Queensland families will be allowed to return home. That 2-week pause that you set in place here in Queensland.
Yeah, no, it's actually, we're starting from Monday, it's over 600, yeah.
Sorry,
yeah, and they'll gradually increase as the pressure on the hotel quarantine system has come down. And we're also trialling that home quarantine with those young independent miners. So, you know, and we're also looking forward to seeing the results of South Australians. They've had a trial recently of home quarantine as well. So, yeah, it's all looking positive on that front.
And just on the nail salon, Premier, I guess the message to businesses, what sort of, I guess, responsibility do they have to check that people have checked into this app?
Yeah, I'd really like them to be a bit more proactive, because it's protecting their business and their community. So, you know, I know when I've been out to cafes and restaurants, sometimes people say, oh, can you show us your check-in, which is fantastic, before you sit down. So I'm just urging people, if you want to avoid short, sharp lockdowns, we need to be able to contact trace. So this is an added measure. So please, everyone's got a responsibility. When you go in, use that check-in app.
Has there been any fines for that business for not taking it?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Premier, we're seeing on the border today lots of families kind of meeting up with families from the other side for Father's Day. What do you have to say to those families who are separated?
Yeah, look, I'm trying so hard. Like, we have been, you know, we have been really reaching out to the New South Wales government to be able to have that border bubble, to be able to move that checkpoint. So, look, we're going to continue those discussions. We're more than happy to resume those discussions at the table. I've sent in my Deputy Commissioner. You know, it is very important, but unfortunately, New South Wales has stay-at-home orders for New South Wales residents. They're not Queensland orders, they're New South Wales orders. So they should be taking it also up, those border communities, with the New South Wales government. I really feel for them. I mean, especially on days like this. I mean, it is heartbreaking.
Premier, use the word resume. Have negotiations stalled and
No, sorry. There's been ongoing discussions, but we want to keep having the discussions open.
The Federal Minister Stuart Roberts said on TV this morning that the national plan, including the 70 to 80% targets, is subject to change. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, look, we had a really good. Can I just say to everyone, National Cabinet had a really good discussion on Friday, and I'm quite sure the Prime Minister and the other premiers would back this up as well. We want to get this right for all of Australia. Everyone wants to keep families safe, and it was a really good discussion. So there's more data and modelling that's going to be coming in from the Doherty Institute, and what we were hearing about the 80% plus vaccination rates for all of the country was very encouraging. So we're going to continue those discussions. So I think everyone should just let the Doherty people do their job. Let us have a look at that research. And like I said to you, everybody went in there wanting to keep the whole community safe. So, everyone wants to open up when it's safe to open up. But the key to that is that over 80%, that 80% and above vaccination rate. So we really, this is like an emergency. This is to avoid our hospitals becoming overrun with COVID patients and people getting sick. This is about, we have this window of opportunity. This is an emergency to go and get vaccinated. So I want to see those vaccination rates increase as we get the extra supply from the federal government, and well done, they've been able to source extra supply. But this is the window of opportunity, September, October, to get vaccinated. I cannot stress this enough on Queensland families, and I'll be standing up. Whenever I stand up, I'll be pushing this. I know Dr. Young is absolutely adamant as well. And in the meantime, our best method of protection is wearing these masks. Now, some people are getting a bit relaxed indoors about these masks. This is really important. I mean, outside the risk is a lot lower, but if you are indoors, the risk is higher. That's why we need people to wear masks. And the check-in apps.
Premier, would you say that those comments from Minister Robert this morning were reckless on insiders? He kind of caught a few people off guard.
So what was his exact comment?
He said that the modelling may change. And
we've asked
he said it was at 80%, then he said it would change. It's confused a lot of people.
Oh, well, look, I think he's not at National Cabinet, right? And I think that the very clear message here is National Cabinet wants to get this right, and the Doherty Institute is doing more work. And when we get that extra work, we will come in and have a good discussion about it. But, it's that 80% threshold, which is really, really important. I mean, Dr. Young and I, we'd like to see a lot more than 80%, because the more people we have vaccinated who are eligible, the better chance we have of reducing the risk. Now, also, can I just say a big thank you? A lot of Queenslanders have been coming up to me on the weekend. I've had small bunches of flowers and beautiful cards and letters, and I just want to thank you. You're the people who are keeping us safe, everything that you're doing, but you've really touched me over the weekend, so thank you very much.
Anything more on the NRL Grand Final?
So look, my understanding is the Sports Minister is speaking with the NRL. I've always said that, like last year, we were able to help out Victoria with the AFL Grand Final. We've obviously had the teams here, and fingers crossed Queensland will get that NRL Grand Final at a time when it can't be played in New South Wales because of the COVID restrictions.
Is Townsville being considered?
My understanding is they're looking at a number of our regional stadiums, and that would include Townsville and the Gold Coast and some of the other stadiums for some preliminary finals. So, look, these are all under negotiations, but I'll let the Sports Minister undertake those, and he'll update me in due course.
Surely, Premier, it's not going anywhere else.
Well, I hope not.
Premier, is it true that you paused negotiations with the NRL? Why?
No, not at all.
Nothing, I guess, with the backlash from the optics of the NRL.
No, there's discussions happening. Yeah.
Premier, just on that opening up window, the Prime Minister effectively in some media comments to the Herald Sun said we'll be open by Christmas. Families from the east and west will be reunited. Do you think it's fair to promise or to put that time frame in, or are you...
I think everyone wants to have hope. I mean, everyone wants to be able to catch up with friends and family for Christmas. I think this is the dream of all Australians, of all Australian families. But the way to do that is to get vaccinated. That's the key. The key is vaccination. And can I say, having had my 2 Pfizers, they don't hurt. My sisters have had their vaccinations, their husbands have had their vaccination, and my niece who's in high school rang me up the other day and said, Auntie Stacia, when I can get vaccinated, I'm going to get my vaccine. So that's exactly what I want to hear. I want to hear families going and getting vaccinated.
And how do we do that faster?
Sorry?
How do we do that faster? Where are the holes in our plan?
Yeah, so there's a Queensland Health website, which I'm really encouraging people to log on to, because if you're on that register, we can prioritise you to get a vaccine. And then, of course, across the state, we're such a decentralised state, you know, the GPs and the pharmacies, the pharmacy network, thank goodness we've got both, because they are doing a fantastic job working together to make sure that we can get the vaccine out. My understanding is Moderna's coming later on this month, which is fantastic. We've got extra Pfizer coming, and there's AstraZeneca out there as well. So, you know, talk to your GP, talk to your pharmacist, and also log on to that Queensland Health website. I want to see it packed, Queensland. I want to see a big, long list of people who want to get vaccinated.
Premier, just off topic, and I apologise.
Yep.
Minister De Brenny was meant to be up today. Just on businesses and the Olympics.
Yes.
They can start cashing in and start putting in tenders for that process.
Yeah, what we want to do, we want to make sure that we have as many businesses across Queensland that can benefit from the procurement of the Olympics. And can I just say a big shout out, a big thank you. We had a big thank you dinner last night for our returning Olympians. It was wonderful to see them all, to meet them face to face. Queensland is very, very proud of you. And as I said last night, and you'd expect me to say it as a Queensland Premier, if Queensland was our own country, we would have come 7th in the world. That is the talent. I also announced last night, which is really good news for regional Queensland, that we are about to embark on a program where we want to identify 400 potential athletes across regional Queensland and get them into a program now to start training them to be future Olympians. So this is probably the first time this has happened. It's going to be right across regional Queensland. It's going to be conducted by the Queensland Academy of Sport. And I already had people at that dinner come up to me last night and said it's fantastic news for regional Queensland. There is so much talent out there, so many young people. And, you know, when you talk about having dreams in the future, there's going to be a lot of young Queenslanders today that will be cheering on in 2032.
So those business opportunities are in regional Queensland too?
Absolutely. They're going to be right across the state for regional businesses and Queensland businesses for procurement, but also we're on the lookout, we're on the search for athletes across regional Queensland.
Premier, there's a story in the Victorian papers today about a little 7-year-old named Madison Langley. Are you aware of her?
No, I'm not. But look, if there's any children, we are going to prioritise those to get them home. And like I said, we've already put in place those procedures where they can come home. So can I just, if we can get their details, we'll contact them. Or if they've contacted the exemptions unit, we'll get a Deputy Chief Health Officer to contact them directly.
Any idea how many people have applied for an exemption in the last 2 weeks?
No, I don't have that. But look, the exemptions unit is working 7 days a week. They're processing it. And the good news is we've got those extra rooms that have opened up. So look, can I just say to Queenslanders, Queensland Health is working as hard as they possibly can to facilitate that. And the reason that they have to go through an exemptions process is because essentially Queensland is open. New South Wales have stay-at-home orders. Victoria have stay-at-home orders. As Dr. Young said, there is a lot of virus circulating around New South Wales at the moment. There's increased numbers, of course, in Victoria, and we wish them all the very best. We want them to get on top of this as much as everybody else. But in the meantime, my job is to keep Queenslanders safe. And the exemptions unit are doing a mighty job trying to get through these applications as quickly as possible. So please, anyone, if there's any issues out there, please contact the exemptions unit and someone will ring you directly and talk to you.
Dr. Young yesterday.
The domestic violence order breaches are up 50% in the past 4 years. Do you think the penalties for people doing these non-violent minor breaches are tough enough to stop them pushing the boundaries?
Look, I do know, and that's a good question, we know that domestic and family violence has a huge impact on families, on children. We want people to be safe. We are seeing more presentations. People are coming forward And I know that police are working very closely with the with other agencies across the government to try and address that. And we've actually, you know, I think over the last 4 or 5 years, women have felt more confident coming out and actually talking about these issues when, you know, 10 years ago was always being dealt with behind closed doors. So,
Legal advocates say there's still this culture of complacency where women feel even if they report breaches where perpetrators have called them on the phone or turned up at their house, the police won't actually act on it. After there's been cases like Kelly Wilkinson, Dorian Williams, do you think women can feel confident when they report these that something's actually going to happen?
I know the Commissioner is absolutely committed, just as I am and my departments, to try and keep women and families as safe as possible. The police are putting in new mechanisms. We're always looking at new ideas, and we also modify the laws as needed. We implemented all the recommendations of the Now Not Ever report, and we see more reform happening every 6 months in relation to the prevention of domestic and family violence.
Dr. Young, yesterday you were very, very honest when you said 24 to 48 hours for Queensland will be critical. Has the mood, I guess, lightened a little bit this morning just off the back of that mother being in quarantine and that truck driver doing the right thing from New South Wales?
It hasn't got worse, but I'm still concerned about the people who attended that nail salon last Monday. We still don't have their details, and I am concerned about them. I need them to come forward because it's quite a large nail salon, so it's got a manager and 4 staff, and we've only been able to track down so far around 7 people.
Did you ask the truck driver what he was doing at the nail salon?
No, why would I do that?
It's very unusual.
In the CCTV, how many people were in the salon at the time?
We've tracked down so far that 6 people went in prior to the truck driver going in, and then another 3 or 4 went in while he was in there. But I mean, that's not perfect CCTV. It can only take a certain angle. So I do need people who are there to come forward.
So you're looking for about 7 or 8?
I don't know.
The Qantas pilot.
Queensland's vaccination rate, the first jab vaccination rate, were at the bottom compared to all the other jurisdictions. Why is that?
New South Wales got extra. That's why. They got a million extra doses.
What would you say to Queenslanders now? And, you know, are you pushing for more people to go to their GPs? Maybe they might not be aware that jabs are available at their GPs.
Yeah, so as I've been saying for a long time now, there are a lot of options, but they're difficult for people. I can understand why people are struggling to find where they can go and get vaccinated. They really and truly, if they can't work out themselves, they should go and see their own GP and work it through with their GP, and their GP can assist them in how to get vaccinated. But the options are people can get vaccinated by their GP. Virtually all GPs now have AstraZeneca, and a lot have Pfizer as well. So there's that option. Then at the moment our pharmacies throughout the state have AstraZeneca, and it won't be long and they'll be getting Moderna. Then our Queensland Health mass vaccination clinics, which we've stood up across the entire state because we are a very decentralised state, they have some AstraZeneca but mainly Pfizer. So there are a lot of options for people, but I can understand why it's so complicated. So I recommend that if you can't navigate the Commonwealth website, which shows you all the places you could get vaccinated, or the Queensland Health website, which again shows you, then go and talk to your own GP. Your own GP will be able to assist you.
The mother of the Qantas pilot, does she live in aged care?
No, no. She lives in her own home, and I don't think it's a risk. We've tested her, and I'll be getting that result back this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a lovely day. Have a nice Sunday.
That was what I thought. I was wondering. Maybe he just likes to get a pedicure.
It's surely